A silent race is happening in your market right now. Buyers are deciding who to trust long before they ever reach out to anyone. They're comparing options and you'll never see them compare. They're ruling people out in complete silence. And most businesses don't even know the race exists. They think the race starts when the lead fills out a form. But by then, it's nearly over. The ones who win the race are not the best in their field. They're the ones who can see it running. If you run a business, if you're a founder, or if you sell professional services, this is the most important race you're in and one that you're least aware of because the entire thing happens before a buyer ever contacts you. I spent 27 years in B2B marketing watching this race decide who wins and who quietly disappears. And once you see it, everything that you know about your market changes. In this video, I'm going to show you what the silent race is, the 3 moving parts that decide whether you win or lose it, and what it actually takes to get in front. Let me describe the race clearly because naming it is the first step to winning it. The silent race is a competition for a buyer's trust that happens entirely before they ever contact you. Long before a buyer raises their hand, fills out a form, or picks up the phone. They're already running a private process of deciding who's in your market that's worth trusting. They are forming impressions, building a short mental list, and ruling people out. You're being judged in a race you can't even see and were never even told that you entered. Notice the word silent. This race gives off almost no signal that you could detect. There's no starting gun you hear, no leaderboard that you could check, and no notification that a buyer has begun their search. It runs quietly inside a buyer's head, across their private research, and the first time most businesses become aware of it is when the deal that they never knew existed has already been won by someone else. The silence is not the absence of a race, it's the sound of one running without you. This matters so much for one reason. Most businesses believe the competition starts when a lead arrives, when there's finally someone to pitch, to quote, or to win over. But by that time the lead arrives, the buyer has already run most of the race. They've already decided who to trust, who feels credible, and who they want to work with. The lead landing in your inbox is not the start of the contest. It's a buyer telling you who already won. If it was not you, you lost a race you never even saw yourself running. This is the reframe that changes everything. Stop thinking of marketing as the one thing that generates a lead and start thinking of it as the thing that wins the race before the lead exists. The buyer is moving towards a decision whether or not you're present. The only question is whether you're in the front of the race, in the middle of it, or not on the track at all. And most businesses, without realizing it, are not even on the track. So the silent race is the real competition in your market, and it's invisible by nature. It's decided in the quiet space before contact, where buyers form trust and build shortlists. You don't get to opt out of it. The race runs whether you take part or not. The only choice is whether you run it on purpose or lose it by default over and over while deciding that the market is simply too slow. The silent race has 3 moving parts, and understanding them is what makes the race make sense. On their own, each is a separate idea. Put them in the same track and they become one story. What you forfeit, how you win, and how you lose. Let me name all 3 first, then take them one at a time because seeing the whole shape makes each piece land harder. The first part is invisible loss. This is what you forfeit in the race. The deals that you never knew you were losing. Opportunities run their entire course, the buyer recognizes a need, researches, decides, and signs with someone, all without you ever knowing the opportunity existed. It is a loss with no invoice, no rejection, or no signal. You can't see it, so you can't learn from it, and it's almost always far bigger than the losses that you could see. The second part is conversation ownership. This is how you win the race, by becoming the source a buyer learns from during their research. There's a conversation happening in your buyer's mind about their problem. What matters is who is credible. Someone is shaping that conversation. When it's you, you don't just get found, you teach the buyer how to think about the problem, how to compare their options, and the businesses that taught them, it's almost the one that they choose. The third part is silent elimination. This is how you lose the race. Getting cut from the list without ever knowing you were on it. A buyer sees you for a moment during their research and quietly judges you against a few signals and then removes you with no rejection and no feedback. You were briefly in the running and then gone, and the silence told you nothing. Most businesses are being eliminated this way constantly. Without any awareness, it's even happening. Hold these three together and the race comes into focus. Invisible loss is the cost of not running. Conversation ownership is how you get in front. Silent elimination is how you fall off the track. These are not three separate problems to solve one at a time. These are three views of the same race and the same underlying work. Building real presence and trust before the buying moment is what wins all three at once. Let's take a look at the first part on its own. Invisible loss is the business you lose without ever knowing it existed. Most owners ask how much business they lost last year, will name deals they bid on and didn't win, the proposal that got rejected, the prospect who chose a competitor. These are real losses, but they're visible. You knew the opportunity existed, you competed, and you lost. Invisible loss is the far bigger category that you never see at all. It happens like this. A buyer recognizes a need entirely inside their own head. They research privately, reading and comparing without contacting anyone. Then they build a shortlist from whoever they know and trust. They decide and then they buy. From your side, none of this gives off a single signal. No inquiry, no proposal request, no rejection. Just silence. A full buying cycle completed, real money changed hands, and you were absent from start to finish. And this is the chilling part. Invisible loss feels exactly like nothing is happening. So the market full of invisible losses get read as a slow market, a quiet quarter, or a tough economy. You decide that there's not much demand out there when the truth is demand is flowing past you constantly, completing its journey with competitors who were present when it mattered. The quiet is not a lack of demand, it's the sound of the race running without you. And here's the line worth remembering from this whole section. The greatest cost of invisibility is not the opportunities you lose, it's the opportunities you never knew were available. That's what invisible loss really costs you. And it's why the race is so dangerous. You can't fix, learn from, or even measure a loss you never saw. Naming it is the first time most businesses ever admit it's happening. The second part is the positive one, the part that tells you how to actually win the race. Conversation ownership is the ability to shape how buyers think, evaluate, and compare options during the research phase of their buying journey. The question is never whether the buyers are researching. All of them are. The only question is, who is influencing that research? It might be a competitor, a review site, a podcast, an industry publication, or AI-generated answer. Or it could be you. When you own the conversation, you do something far more powerful than generate leads. You shape how buyers define the problem in the first place. You shape which solutions they consider. You set the criteria they use to judge every option that follows, including your competitors. You're not just one of several names being compared. You are the source that taught the buyer how to compare in the first place. When you're the teacher, you're almost always the first choice. Think about what that position actually does in the race. The businesses that own the conversation often reach the shortlist before competitors even know the buying process has already begun. They're not merely visible during research. They're the ones the buyers learn from, which means by the time anyone else shows up, the criteria is already set in the owner's favor. Owning the conversation is how you move from the back of the race to the front quietly before anyone else is even aware the race is on. This is why the goal for your marketing is not simply to be found. Being found makes you one option among many. Being the source buyers learn from makes you the option that others are measured against. The difference between those two positions is the difference between competing on price in a crowded field and being the obvious choice before the field even forms. One is exhausting and endless, the other builds up in your favor with every buyer you teach. So if invisible loss is the cost of not running, conversation ownership is how you get to the front and stay there. It's the one part of the silent race that's fully within your control to build. You can't force a buyer to need you, but you can decide to be the voice that shapes how they think when the need arrives. That decision, made on purpose and sustained over time, is how the race gets won. The third part is the failure that happens once a buyer does see you. Invisible loss is the failure before they ever notice you exist. Silent elimination is the failure that begins the moment you enter their field of view. Because buyers don't just discover options during research. They eliminate them fast, often without even thinking about it, based on a few key signals, and the elimination starts the instant you appear. This is what the buyer is silently asking as they scan. Does this company seem to understand my specific problem? Is their message clear and specific or vague and generic? Do they feel credible? Have I seen them consistently, or is this the only time I've ever run into them? Is there proof they've done this before? If the answer to most of these is no, the buyer moves on. No rejection email, no feedback, no signal that you were even considered. You appeared, you were quietly judged, and then you were cut. And here's the part that stings the most. The businesses that survive the silent elimination are not the best at what they do. They're the ones who have built enough presence, clarity, and credibility that when a buyer sees them, they immediately think, these people understand what I'm dealing with. Familiarity drives selection more than businesses realize. Buyers don't choose the best option. They choose the option that feels the most certain, and certainty is built through repeated exposure. The more often someone sees you, the less risky that you feel. This is a familiarity advantage at work. Known consistently beats better, but unknown. State the cost plainly, and it's unforgiving. If you're not visible, you're not shortlisted. If you're not shortlisted, you are eliminated before the conversation even begins. You never known the opportunity existed, you'd never get the chance to submit a proposal, and you could never be chosen. The whole climb onto the shortlist is what I call buyer shortlist positioning. And it's won or lost long before any buyer starts looking. Silent elimination is the mechanism that turns invisibility into lost business, one buyer at a time, while you never see a single one of the eliminations happen. So silent elimination is how you fall off the track even after you make it onto their radar. It is the cut that you never feel, and it points to the same cure as the other two parts. Enough presence and familiarity and trust built before the buying moment that you do not just surface in the buyer's mind, but survive the cut once you appear. Surfacing gets you noticed. Familiarity and trust are what keep you in the race. Now, let me pull the three parts back together, because the real insight of the silent race is not any one of them. It is that they're the same race seen from three different angles, driven by one underlying cause and reversed by one underlying cure. Miss that and you treat them as three separate marketing problems. See it and you realize a single body of work wins all three at once. The one cause underneath all three is the same: a shortage of presence, familiarity, and trust before the buying moment. Invisible loss happens because you have almost no presence, so opportunities complete without you. Silent elimination happens because you have some presence, but not enough to survive the cut. And you fail to own the conversation because you are not present and trusted enough to be the voice that buyers learn from. Same root cause, three different symptoms, which means the one cure is almost the same. Build genuine presence in your market before any buyer needs you. Become the source they learn from during research. Earn enough familiarity and trust that you survive the silent cut and reach the shortlist. Do that work and you don't need to fix three problems in sequence. You change your position in a single race and all three symptoms move together. Invisible loss shrinks, you start owning the conversation, and you stop being eliminated. This is why the silent race is a cornerstone idea and not just a collection of related observations. It tells you that scattered frustrations, the quiet market, the deals lost to weaker competitors, the sense that nobody could find you are not separate failures. They are one failure, the failure to be present and trusted before the buying moment, showing up in three different ways. And one failure with one cause is something you could actually fix. So when you look at your own marketing, stop asking three separate questions. Don't ask why you're losing deals, or why nobody finds you, or why you only influence a few buyers. Ask the one question underneath all of them. Am I present, trusted, and teaching in my market before the buying moment? That single question is the whole race and the honest answer that tells you exactly where you stand in it. There's even a way to score that answer called the Conversation Ownership Index, running from invisible all the way to unavoidable. So how do you actually move to the front of the race that you can't see? The answer follows from everything above. Because the race is run before contact, you have to be present before contact as well. You can't win the silent race in the moment a buyer is ready, because the race is nearly over. You win it in the weeks and months beforehand by being consistently present, useful, and credible while no buyer is obviously shopping. The first move is continuous presence. The race is always running on the buyer's timeline, not yours. So your presence has to be continuous as well. The businesses that show up only when it needs sales is, by definition, absent during most of the moments when buyers are deciding who to trust. The business that is always present is always in the running. Presence is something you have to build in advance, like savings, not something that you withdraw on demand. The second move is to teach, not just appear. Generic visibility gets you noticed and then forgotten. To own the conversation, you have to be genuinely useful around a specific problem you solve. So buyers learn something real from you and connect that problem with your name. This is what turns presence into ownership. Being the source that shapes how your market thinks, not just another logo that flickered past them during research. The third move is patience with work whose payoff is invisible until it suddenly matters. Most of the trust that wins the silent race is built quietly with buyers you can't see over long periods. It will not show up as an instant lead. It shows up later as buyers who arrive already knowing you, already trusting you, having silently run their way to you through a race you never watched them run. You have to be willing to do the work whose results stay hidden until the moment they decide everything. Do those three things: continuous presence, teaching around your specific problem, and patient trust building, and the whole race flips in your favor. Here is the encouraging truth on end. The same silent race that has been quietly costing you business is eliminating your competitors as well. Every shortlist you reach is one they didn't. Once you are the business that is present, trusted, and teaching your market, the race that used to run without you starts running for you instead. The silent race is the competition for a buyer's trust that happens entirely before they ever contact you. It has three moving parts. Invisible loss is what you forfeit, the deals that you never knew they were losing. Conversation ownership is how you win, becoming the source a buyer learns from during their research. Silent elimination is how you lose, getting cut from the list without ever knowing you were on it. The three are not separate problems. They are one race with a cause underneath them, a shortage of presence, familiarity, and trust before the buying moment. And it has one cure: build genuine presence, become the source the buyer learns from, and earn enough trust to survive the cut to reach the front. Fix the cause and all three symptoms move together. The race is already running in your market right now, whether you're on it or not. The businesses that win are not the best in their field. They're the ones who can see the race and run it on purpose. So stop accepting a quiet market as a verdict. Often it's just the sound of the silent race running without you, and the whole point of everything that follows is to put you in front of it. This is one piece of a larger system, the conversion ecosystem, and every video here builds another part of it, with more depth waiting in the description. If you thought this was useful, watch this next video. Remember, the most visible, the most valuable, the most trusted business in your market wins. The whole point of the conversion ecosystem is to build a system that makes you all three.